Welcome to the Living Centred podcast, a podcast all about learning together how to live lives which are centred on Jesus. Everyone lives centred on something. Our goal is to learn together how every area of our lives, everything about who we are and how we live, can be increasingly oriented around Jesus and transformed by Jesus. He invites us to a rich and satisfying life, where the good news that he truly is enough changes everything about how we relate to God, ourselves, and the world. In each episode, a different person shares about what it's looking like for them to seek to centre their life on Jesus right now. As we hear their stories, we get to learn together and to encourage one another in what it means for Jesus to be at the centre of our lives. This is a journey we are all invited to, and a conversation we all get to be a part of. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name's Adrian, and it is so good to welcome you to this week's episode of the Living Centred podcast. And it's my privilege to introduce today Tom, who's going to be sharing. Tom, it is very good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I've done one podcast before, but it was online during COVID without a mic, so I feel very special with a podcast mic.
Oh, wow. That's the goal. I want you to feel special. This is going to be good. To ease you in then, as I do with everyone every week, is I wonder if you could just start by sharing a bit about who you are and what your life looks like at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm Tom. I am a father of two, Ollie and Eden. Eden is 4, Ollie is 8 months old.
Amazing.
Already. And husband to a amazing wife, Jenna.
Yeah.
We've been at Oasis for 15 odd years.
Amazing.
A really long time. I came as students and here we are.
Yeah.
I work for a student ministry called Canvas in Surrey Oak.
Yeah.
As you might have heard from, well, you would have heard from Jenna.
I definitely heard from Jenna. Yeah.
Yeah, we've worked there for 10 years.
Wow.
Discovered it as students.
Yeah.
And grew and learnt a lot through the organisation. Started working there. I love football.
Amazing.
I'm taking a hiatus from MNF, from Monday Night Football right now, because I play for a team, City Church.
Okay.
And they train on a Tuesday.
Right.
And I'm not 19 anymore, so I can't play Monday night, Tuesday night, Saturday.
No, sure.
Keen footballer, Arsenal fan. I guess that's me in a nutshell.
That's great. That's really good. So I think then, with that backdrop, then we get to the big question.
Yeah.
Which is, within the richness of your life, then what does living centred on Jesus look like right now?
Yeah, I mentioned football. Part of it is in those spaces where people are not necessarily living as kindly as they can. Football culture is like, lad banter and swearing at people and being unkind and insulting. Trying to live in a way that reveals Jesus. I mean, it doesn't always happen.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's particularly hard to do when you've lost a football game. But I think on Saturday, there was a guy who was shouting on the sideline, being quite abusive and unkind. But he got injured halfway through the game, and I took the time to go and chat to him afterwards and ask how he was, what he injured, how he's doing, and the ref had a shocker, but I still went and shook his hand and said, thanks for reffing, and just trying to bring light and love and trying to set the culture and be countercultural, I guess, in that space. I think in living that way alongside other people, I'm a very relational person. So I think trying to bring my faith into the spaces that Jesus isn't necessarily found, which is ironic because it's a Christian football league. But
it's amazing.
Yeah,
but not everyone in there.
95% of people are not.
Yeah, amazing.
So I think that's great because you do get some Christians in there, and you get all sorts of characters. So I love to thinking about a previous series, being the salt and light, and trying to be the Jesus flavors where I find myself.
It's really good, Tom. I love that. Just what does it look like? Well, it looks like how I seek to live with people who maybe don't know who Jesus is.
Yeah.
And seeking in those places to be light and love. And then you showing what does that look like? Well, it's how I treat other people. It's going up and thanking a ref who maybe I'm questioning some of the decisions they've made, but I'm still going to thank them for doing their thing. I'm going to go and speak to someone who's been injured and make sure they're doing all right at the end of the game. And I just love it. I've just this, it's going to transform how I live. Yeah. That's what I'm seeking to say, and say, well, okay, how do I then reveal who Jesus is if he really is at the center? Yeah.
And I think there's a book called Sacred Pathways.
Yeah.
And it talks about like ways that you connect with God. And one of them is through caregiving. And that's obviously caregiving is relational. Like, I think that's me. I've also realized that I'm more intellectual with my faith than I used to be.
Yeah.
Than I thought I was. But just like these different ways, how does it look for me to center on Jesus? It's, I think, through living that out.
Yeah.
Alongside people, both, as I said, football, through my work, alongside students, trying to love them practically where they're at. And it doesn't always lead to a conversation about Jesus, but that's okay. Like in showing love and hospitality to people, I think that is a revelation of Jesus, even though it's not the gospel necessarily sprinkled in it. It is like, I think, a really active way for me to show the love of Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good, Tom. And we'll stick in the show notes that book recommendation as well as Sacred Pathways. Yeah. But I love just how you're expressing it. What it looks like for me to stay centered and live centered on Jesus is how I'm seeking to reveal that to others. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to talk lots about Jesus. It is going to mean that I'm going to do lots of things that show him.
Yeah.
And I loved how you put it. You said, that looks like just loving and showing hospitality.
Yeah.
That's really good. I guess then the follow-up question then is that if that's how is looking in respect to living centered on Jesus at this point, like what's helping you to live that way?
So I think being a dad of 2 little ones and Jenna mentioned this in hers, but like it looks different to how it used to.
Yeah.
To me, like pre and post pandemic is a real line in the sand with.
Yes.
I think for everyone probably, but for me specifically, because that's when we had kids. Before, like, I would have my traditional quiet time in the morning, but right now I'm getting up at 5:30 with Eden. Like, so I'm unwilling to get up at 5 a.m. Also because Ollie is having a tough night. So it doesn't look traditional in terms of like a Bible, pray.
Yeah.
Although there is like a really cool book that we have at Canvas, which is called Every Moment Holy. It's like a liturgy for every moment. And in that book is like a liturgy for beekeepers.
No way.
Yeah. And there's one for the changing of nappies, which is incredible. I wish I brought the book. There's a part near the end of that. And I read it. I was like, sure. Like changing a nappy can be holy. Come on, what have you got? Liturgy. I read it and it made me really emotional because it said at the end, may changing this nappy be upstream of changing a life, and may that be upstream of changing the world.
Oh, that's like a perspective giver, isn't it? You're like,
so good.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that book is really helpful. And as I've been saying about like conversations with people living at Canvas alongside students, it's, I think, easy to have my faith at the front of my mind because it is my work as well. I think I'm very lucky in that way that what I do for a living enables me to connect with God in a obvious way. I think, you can connect with God through anything.
Yeah.
But seeing as it is ministry, it's a relationship building, seeking to reveal Jesus. I'm lucky in that my work helps me connect with Jesus.
Yeah.
But also, as I mentioned before about being more intellectual with my faith than I thought. So Jenna, she mentioned this, she's doing a master's in theology. I have a friend who's doing a PhD in the science of conversion. The science of like your brain chemistry with finding a new belief system and that effect on you. Like it's a very high level.
Yeah.
And he dumbs it down for me. But
I like people like that.
Yeah. So having conversations with people like that are really helpful and I think really stimulating for me in a way that it never was as a younger person. A younger person, I'm only 34, but still, like as a teenager and stuff, I wasn't that intellectual about my faith. But I think in talking to people who just know a lot more than me and have so much wisdom, and listening to podcasts and reading books. I do a lot more listening to podcasts than I used to. But just, learning new things about God and not believing necessarily everything that I listen to, but kind of sitting with it and dwelling on it and grappling with it and trying to explore it and figure it out. That's the kind of thing that gives me goosebumps about my faith, about God. And that is really exciting, because I think that faith is an adventure that you'll never get to the end of. There's always something new to learn about God, and that it's not something you can figure out. God is not figure-outable.
Yeah.
And to some people that would be off-putting, but to me that's really exciting.
Well, yeah, it's like an invitation to explore. Yeah. It's like, wow, more to discover.
Mm-hmm.
I love it how you're saying, stage of life I'm at, it just looks different. And I really love the sound of that book of just every moment is holy.
Yeah.
And just discovering then something that otherwise you might not have discovered.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, okay, this is the time I've got. This is what I'm doing. How's God in this?
Yeah.
How do I encounter him through this?
Yeah.
I love it. Liturgy, I really love. So yeah, really good. And then just you saying, it's that, but then it's like people. It's the people I get to work alongside. The questions they're asking, the way I'm seeking to share my faith, it kind of helps me. But also people that I'm in connection with who are going to stretch my thinking. And realizing that I don't have to think I've got all the answers. But actually I can sit with things and think, okay, what do I think about this?
Yeah.
I need to push my thinking. And sometimes I'm going to think, no, I disagree with that. But there's moments where I think, oh, well, I've not seen it that way. It's just really good.
Yeah.
And therefore that stimulating kind of what you listen to, who you're talking to. Yeah, really good. And leading to that last point of, always more to discover.
Mm-hmm.
Always more to discover. Really good.
And big shout out to podcasts, because you can listen to them as you're washing up, as you're walking.
Yeah.
These are the moments that I get. It's
Yeah.
often while I'm doing something else.
Oh, totally. I limit myself to only one dog walk where I'm allowed to listen to something, and I do one dog walk where I can just be silent.
Oh, that's good.
But I love podcasts. It's really good, Tom. I guess then pushing us further then, that's the stuff that's helping you. What are you then discovering then about who God is as Father, Son, Spirit?
I've mentioned books and podcasts. In the last year, there's been some things that I've learned about my faith, which is, I think, broadens my perspective of what Jesus' life, death and resurrection means. Because I think as a child and as a teenager, my faith was a lot more simple, which is easier. Yeah. Because it was, this is the answer. Let me tell you what it is. But I think more recently, Jesus' life, death and resurrection is not just about me. Yeah. I think it used to be Jesus lived, died and was resurrected, and that means that I get to have a relationship with God. That was basically it.
Yeah.
But in coming into adulthood and learning more about God and what people think about God, learning that it's good news for me and for you and for creation, and that through Jesus's resurrection, that is a redeeming and reconciling work for all of creation. Yeah. Which is so much more beautiful than great, I can talk to God, which is great news. Yeah. But that's such a small part of it. And I think seeing it as broader and more beautiful helps me to live in a more connected way with people and with the world, how I treat people and how I treat the world, like climate change and everything, like wanting to see God as present within this world. It's not just the liberals banging on about caring for the planet. It's actually, no, this is creation. It's holy. This is God's, like God is in creation, because I believe that God was present before humans, right? So like, what was God doing for all those thousands, millions of years before humans were present? I think God was present in creation. Yeah. And so that is exciting to, I think, see.
Oh, it's massive. I just love it. What I'm discovering is just the beauty of how vast what Jesus' life, death and resurrection has resulted in. It's just bigger than I could have imagined. Yep, it is about me. Yeah. Oh, but way more. Yeah. It's about everyone. Yeah. And it's about the whole of creation. And I love that thing of suddenly I realized it's about a redeeming and reconciling of everything. And that's like oxygen. You can't help but breathe that in and think, that transforms how I see everyone and everything.
And it's so hopeful.
Yeah.
Because suddenly everything belongs as it is, like, and Jesus is redeeming it and reconciling everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me, that is God's heart and God's desire for the world. And I get to try and be a part of that.
Yeah, I love that. It brings hope.
Yeah.
It's good news. Which brings us, sadly, though, to the last question.
Yeah.
And it's only sadly because I'm enjoying doing the questions. Is how are you changing then? If we were to meet you, Tom, 3, 6, 12 months ago, how would Tom then look different to Tom now?
Tom now is more tired.
Yeah.
With the second little one. Maybe a few more grey hairs and wrinkles.
Man, you're talking to the choir.
I think the more I learn about my faith and the more I learn about God, the further along I am on the journey, the more I realise I don't know. But that's okay. And that's good. My faith is no longer simple. You know, there's complexities and sometimes perplexities, and looking to find harmony within that. And it's okay to not know. But I believe that God is love.
Yeah.
And that Jesus is the embodiment of God and seeking to live after his way. In a way, it's become simple again. After having like all the answers as a younger person, or what I'd perceived to be the correct answers, to then asking questions, being more curious, finding some answers, not knowing necessarily what questions to ask, but then coming back to a place of simplicity of, well, it's okay. It's okay that I don't know. And these are good questions, and it's okay to sit in the unknowing. And with that, I think doubt and not unbelief, but like doubting certain parts of God and faith being, I think, a gift, because it's in that place of uncertainty that God is kind of big enough to meet me in that, but it also gives me a desire to keep looking for him. Because if I think I have the answer and I know what God is like, then it could be easy to just rest in that place of having answers. But in more ambiguity, it gives me a desire to learn more.
Wow.
Doubt is a gift.
That's profound, Tom. It's like let's just drop that in the very end. Doubt's a gift.
I had it for the earlier question. I missed
really
it.
Good. It's really good, Tom. Because what it does just flip it of just like, oh, okay, right, where I've got this question, what I've realized is it becomes this gift of then me able to hunger and discover more about who God is.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I loved your journey there where you're saying, yep, what's happened is the more I get to know, the more I realize I don't know, and then it becomes complex. And then within the complexity, I realize, oh no, there's simplicity of within the unanswered questions, within the vastness of it, I still get to know, but what I know is that God, you're loving. And there's a simplicity in that, which is amazing within the breadth and the questions and the desire of there's still more to know.
Yeah.
Which I personally find deeply exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an eternal being, surely we need eternity.
Yeah.
Surely that's the deal, isn't it? We need an eternity to know.
It'd be underwhelming if you got to the end of God.
Yeah. As always, I get to this point and I am deeply grateful, Tom, for you sharing something of who you are, something of what life looks like at this point in time, what it means to follow Jesus, be centered on him at this point. And I say it every week, but I don't grow tired of saying it. My heart is just full. How can it not be when you just talk about this and just seeing how Jesus is transforming someone's life and out of it transforming others' lives? Oh, it's just good. Reflecting on just the wonder of like many different things you've shared, I think the thing that I want to consider and probably going to purchase is that book. I really like Every Moment is Holy. I think I have lots of different books on with little liturgies and things in, which I've set prayers I find really helpful. And so I think that's going to be my purchase, and I'm going to be enjoying that. Probably not just for the coming week. It'll probably be for other moments as well. I want to look at the liturgy for the beekeeper. I think that sounds amazing.
The beekeepers.
I think that's amazing. How about you, my listening friends? What are you going to be considering out of the beauty and wonder of what Tom has shared with us? And lastly, I just want to thank you for listening. And I just want to pray for each and every one of us. I pray we would know more of the wonder of living centered on Jesus this coming week. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Living Centered podcast. New episodes are released every Monday, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe on your chosen podcast provider to receive them direct each week. Living Centered is produced by the team at Oasis Church in Birmingham, UK, and you can find out more and get in touch with the team via theoasischurch.com.